Okay, we're in up to Daf Chaf Amid Aleph. We're in the sugya of Lishma. We mentioned that there's two Mandi Omar regarding what Lishma means. Rabbi Elazar, the given is Eidim Mesira Karti. It's the Eidim that go ahead and view the get being give over. They create the creases that divorces the woman. Therefore, it's incumbent that the ksiba has to be Lishma. That's the main thing. According to Rabbi Meir, it's Eidei Chasima Karti. It's the Eidim of the Chasima who go ahead and sign the get. We don't care about who wrote the get, we care about signing the get. So Lo Rabbi Elazar, you should not be permitted to write any get. Now there's two parts to the get we decided. There's called the Toifes, which is the basic boilerplate, and then there's the Toirif, which is the changes from depending on the man's name, the woman's name, the place. And so the Gemara Mishnah now is going to discuss halachas about writing Toifse Gitin and other shtaris as well, and that's pretty much today's daf. Says the Gemara in Chavav Amid Aleph, a case of Toifse Gitin, right? Someone who's writing the boilerplate of Gitin, Sarach Sheniach Makam Ish, you have to leave over the name of the Ish, Makam Isha, the place of the Isha, Umakam Azman. Again, this is the Toirif. You can't write that in because if you write that in before someone tells you to write it, that would not be Lishma. Pashtus on Mishnah is going according to Rabbi Elazar, who holds Eidi Mesira Karti. Because according to Rabbi Meir, you should be able to have a bunch of Gitin filled out with names in them, and as long as the Chasima is the Shma, it's fine. So obviously this must go according to that. We have to leave out the Toirif over here. It must be going according to Rabbi Elazar. I can't stress this enough. What about other Gitin, other shtaros? In shtari milva, in the shtar of a transaction of a borrowing money, the place of the borrower, the creditor, the lender. Makam aloiva, the place of the borrower. Makam hamois, the amount of money. Makam zman. Okay, third shtar in Mecca, a shtar of a sale. Makam aloikeach, the person who is what buying it. Makam hamoich, the one selling it. Makam hamois, the amount of money. Makam hasada, exactly which pot field is it? Makam hazman. Mifnei takana, because of the takana, whatever that means. Whatever that means, we'll see what makam takana means. We'll have a machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda paisel b'kulan. Rabbi Yehuda does not let you write any of these things. Even to leave these places out, he will not let you write it. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you can't have any boilerplate ready. Nothing can be there. Rabbi Elazar machshir b'kulan. Rabbi Elazar permits you to write all of them, right? Chutz migitei nashim, with the exception of gitei nashim. So shedemar v'chasav lo lishma. So let's go over the Mishnah outside. The first case of the Mishnah is you could write Toifse Gitin, you could write Halva, and you could write Mecha. All of those were permitted. You could write all of them. I gave this whole Hagdama and established that the first case of the Mishnah must be according to Rabbi Elazar. Because according to Rabbi Meir, you should be able to fill out names and everything, right? Except this man because of Muktim, but you should be able to fill out everything, right? So therefore, the ratio of the Mishnah is according to Rabbi Elazar. Good. Comes along. So according to this first opinion, everyone can fill out everything. Second opinion, the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, you can fill out none of them. Third opinion, you could fill out all of them except Gitei Nashim. Who is this says the third one? That's Rabbi Elazar. Apparently in the Mishnah, fellas, if you're listening to what I just told you, you have a steer in Rabbi Elazar. First Tana was saying, the one that you write Toifse Gitin, but you can't put in the Toirif, you can't put in the names, is Rabbi Elazar. Because maybe you could even put in the names. Now the latter one says, no, Rabbi Elazar says you can't do it. Good? So you have a stira in the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. And the Gemara's answer, it's two Tanoim Aliba to Rabbi Elazar. Okay, those are the opinions of the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, I'm Rabbi Yehuda Mishmuel.
Rabbi Stern. What about a ksuba?
What?
Ksuba.
What about
they're not written? They're written without. Most times they're written without names, but some fancy ones with the calligraphy, when they know who it's for.
That doesn't seem to be a problem. That doesn't seem to be a problem. It's a one-sided deal where all these cases, the two people involved. Let's say you have a moicher, you have two people involved. Right over here, you have a halva, two people involved. Okay, you can tell you get there's only one person involved, the one giving you get, and over here the one giving ksuba. No, there's the chayra. I mean, why would the chasar be by ksuba? What are you worried about?
I'm not. I'm just asking because I know that you can go to a farm store and buy.
You could buy tanoim, you could buy that for sure. Again, the only problem would be according to the shita of Rabbi Yehuda passes everything. That would be only according to him. But again, by ksuba, I don't see what the problem would be. First of all, there were places they didn't even write a ksuba. There were people who didn't even write a ksuba. And second of all, usually ksuba was written at the time of the wedding, when they would get married at that time, and they would write it out. Okay, but again, there's of course boilerplate to ksuba. You're right. What you see in the Svarim stores are boilerplate. You have Lashon, Ramesh's Lashon, that's the boilerplate. In addition to the names of the people, you have to live out Hariyat Muteres L'Chaladam. Says Rashi, Gamze Ikra shall get. That's also considered Ikra get. That's not boilerplate. To say Hariyat Muteres L'Chaladam, that's the term that is going ahead and permitting her, that you would have to leave out as well. Reb Lazahi and the Mishnah who says you could write Taifsei Gitin, but not the Tairif, is Rabbi Lazar Dama Edi Masira Karti, Ubein Ksiva Lishma. And you would need what? Ksiva Lishma. Okay? Now, what's the Chiddush over here, fellas? That even though you need Ksiva Lishma, we're not worried maybe if you write the Taifis, the boilerplate, you may come to write the Tairif. That's what our Mishnah is saying, that you could write the boilerplate, you could write the Taifis, and we're not worried you may come to write the Tairif Shaloi Lishma. This is not the first time we've heard this. This is not the first time. The first time we heard this is in Daf Chaf Aleph Amid Beis. Let's see. Let's go back in time. Daf Chaf Aleph Amid Beis. The Mishnah says, you can't write on mechuber lekarka, but if you do write on mechuber and you disattach it, it's kasha. We asked right away. You just told me you can't write, and now you're telling me you could write. Says the Gemara, kasu on mechuber v'amid reisha ein kaisin on Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel hu sheshayim makam tayrif. You're leaving out the tayrif. The chenam Rabbi on Rabbi Oshia. So Shmuel said it once, and we're not worried over here that you may come to write it. Okay. So you shouldn't write it on mechuber, but if you do, write it on mechuber, right? Speaking that you're writing the what? You're writing the boilerplate, you're writing the typhus. So, and this is, who's this Tana? This is Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel. Who's the Tana by us? I'm Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. So that's the first time we said it. The second time we said it. Let's see in Daf Chaf Beis, Amid Beis. Hakol kshein lichter v'saget, afilu cheresh shayta v'katan. The Gemara asked the lav b'nei deyininu. A cheresh shayta v'katan, a lav b'nei dey. That ain't correct. So how could they write it? Tav Gimel and Aleph, guys. Right before the Mishnah, go up at 6 lines. Rabbi Yehuda Meshmuel, who sheshayim makam tayrif. When we say that the cheresh shayta can write it, that means provided they leave out the tayrif, but they could write the what? The typhus, they could write the boilerplate. So apparently you have the same Manda Amrim, Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, saying the same thing 3 times. That Loi Rebbe Lazu says you need Kasiv Lishma. You don't have a problem writing the typhus, and we're not geyser. If you write the typhus, you may come to write the toyref, right? That's what the Gemara. So now the Gemara is going to make it tzrichas of all these places. Why do you need to say by mechuba? Why do you have to say by cheresh shayt of cotton? And why do you have to say it by stam seifa? Good. That's what we're doing right now. Again, ikach chasam and aseifa. Everything Baruch Hashem came from Rashi because it just says one word. The tzricha. You need to tell me. You need to tell me what. Now you know what you need to tell me. You need to tell it to me 3 times. It says the Gemara. Let's see it now. The tzricha on chavav and aleph. The ashminan hach kamaisa, the earlier ones, right? If you would tell me the first ones. Havamin, what I would have thought, Hahihu de Ikalu Ukmek Rebala. So the Ketani, Ein Kaisvin, we said Ein Kaisvin, the Ketani Kasfu. In other words, you said the first one was what? You can't write on Mechuba, and then you say Kasfu. I will say for the Ketani Shein Kiyim Aget El B'Chaisamav, but the Seifa of the Mishnah that said that Ein the Sefer that said, "Ain," right, guys, where is this? Then you had, yeah, okay. On the Daf Kov Beis on the Beis, the Mishnah, Hakol Kshein Lichter V'Sager, Afil L'Cher Shait V'Katan, and then it says Shein Kim Ager B'Chaysamav. So you had to tell me over there. You might think that that's according to Reb Meir, because it says Shein Kim Ager B'Chaysamav. So I will say the Tani Shein Kim Ager B'Chaysamav Emer Reb Meir He Dam Edi Chasim Makarti V'Yashminim Ba'Hi. The case of Kol Kshein Lichter He Nami Ikalokin Reb Elazar. I would say when the ratio of this Mishnah is Rebbe Elazar, the Sefer is not Rebbe Elazar. Kamash Malon. Let's see Rashi here. Says Rashi. The three places we just mentioned. Now, the Tani Ein Kaisvin. V'had Tani Kasvu. You learned Ein Kaisvin Mechuber, and then you said Kasvu, you write on Mechuber. Kasha. When the Kasha ratio is Sefer, Ukimna the Hachikamar Ein Kaisvin Taifis. You can't write the boilerplate Shem Yichtav Torah. Aval Sefer, the next Mishnah, Hakol Kshein Lichter, Afil L'Cher Shait V'Katan, the Ktani Shein Kiyim Aged El V'Chaysamav, you mentioned there, Eimer Reb Meir, Bein It Tzarech L'Shaya Makam HaTorah, and you can even fill in the names. Vashmina and Shmuel, the Tzarech. Shmuel tells us, no, you have to leave out the names. Reb Elazar. Okay, so that's why you had to write the second Mishnah. That's why Shmuel had to say the second time. So the first time he had to say, guys, to answer up, then they'd stira. Ein Kaisvin Mechuber, then Kasvu. The second time he had to say it was because the latter part of the Mishnah is mashma like Reb Meir, right? It's mashma Shein Kiyim Shtaros El B'Chaysamav. It's mashma like Reb Meir. Therefore, he had to tell you, no, it's not according to Reb Meir. Now, what about the third time? Right? Mashmina Shmuel Etzarech, Reb Elazar, the Sefer the Tani Shein Kiyim Aged El B'Chaysamav, Lav Shach Shurei Toirif, the Cheresh Shait V'Katan. It's not to tell me that the Cheresh Shait V'Katan would write the names and if it's signed, it's good. The Shaloi because that would be Shaloi L'Shmai. Ella Amatziyasukai. It's going that Shein Kiyim is going in the middle case. Ha'isha Ketzeves says Kita, a woman can write her get L'Shma. Va'yishayv Roi Shein Kiyim again El Misirasai. Loy B'Chasim Masai. Most of the Eidei Chasim are the Eidei Masira. V'Roiv Gitin Hachsumim Heim Afilu Rez V'Tiklayim. Now Ikaluk Mikreb Elazar V'Lei Kashim Midikit Precious. Aval Hamid the Sefer Polag Reb Elazar Aresha the Tani Reb Elazar Machshe B'Kulam Chas Migitei Nashim Aresha Machshma Afal Gitei Nashim Aim Aresha Lav Reb Elazar. I'd say the Aresha not Reb Elazar. Vein Sarach L'Shayim Makam Hariyam Muteres Kolodam Kamash Milan. Okay, so guys, look at the Mishnah. Let's go back. I go back outside each one. The first Mishnah said Ein Kaisvin Mechuber. Kaisvin Mechuber V'Nasdullah. It's Reb Elazar. That's the Chiddush. Don't write it. Why? Because you may come to write the Toivus. But if you do write the Toifus, it's okay. Second Mishnah, that Hakol Kshein Lichter Es Haget, Afil L'Cher Shait V'Katan, right? Isha Atzmo Kasev says Gita, Isha Atzmo Kasev sorry, but Shein Kim Shtaros El B'Chaysamav. Why do you have to tell me there the din that it's Reb Elazar? Because since it says in the same Mishnah, Ein Kiyim Get El B'Chaysamav, you would think it's Reb Meir. Kamash Malon, it's not. Our Mishnah over here, why do you have to tell me the ratio is Rebbe Elazar? Because when we say the Sefer is Rebbe Elazar, you say the ratio is not. What does the Sefer say? The Sefer says that it's all you can write boilerplate for Mecher, you can write boilerplate for Alva, but you can't write boilerplate for Gitei Nashim. Gitei Nashim. So when Rebbe Elazar begins to speak over there, you would think the ratio is not Rebbe Elazar. Kamash Shmuel, that the ratio is Rebbe Elazar. That why you could write Gitei Nashim, and we're going to have to answer the stira in Rebbe Elazar. But that's the tzricha. So why Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda had to say the name of Shmuel each of the three places this halacha like Rebbe Elazar. I hope that made sense. Okay, says the Gemara Vayta. Now it says Mifnei HaTakana. In the Mishnah it said, guys, again, let's go back to the Mishnah. Kaiser said, Gitin Sarah Shiniach Makam Ish Makam Isha Makam Azman. Story Milva Sarach Nap Daran, and then it says Mifnei HaTakana. What's the takana? In other words, it's mashma. You could do something with Mifnei HaTakana, correct? What's that going on and why? What is it going on and what is the takana? My takana. Rabbi Yonason the takanas Seifer. The Rebbe Elazar, he Amar Edi Mesira Karti, Ubedinu Dafilu Toifus Nami Loy Lichtoif. Mishim Takonas Seifrim Sharu. Okay, so David Adler brought in a good point. Let's say a person's getting married. He needs a ksuba. If you wouldn't have a ksuba written, what would you have to do? You'd have to start boilerplate from point A to point B. It would take time. Guy's in a rush. He wants it ready. What do? You go to Eichler's and boom, you got a ksuba. The typhus is there. All you got to fill in is the blanks, right? That's the takana over here. They're permitted to write the boilerplate to seifim. They got a business going, right? They should have the shtaris ready, and therefore the takana, really, by get in particular, we don't want you to write anything. Why? Because if we let you write something that you could write, you may come to write something that you can't write. If we let you write the toifis, the boilerplate, you may come to write the toirif, which is the names which have to be lishma. So really, you shouldn't have it. But for the takana of the soifim to have their availability, therefore we'd allow it. Guys, you good? That's the kind of soifim to have it available again. And David's point is well taken. If you have the ksuba there, like it's right there. It's a very good explanation. So now, we should takana soifim sharu rabbanon. Okay, now what about Rabbi Yehuda, who says pasal b'kulan? Gazar toifis ata toirif, gazar shtaris ata gitin. So now, Rabbi Yehuda, he doesn't allow anything. It's a two-step process. I won't let you write the boilerplate by get, because if you do, you may come to write the lishma part. If I do let you write the boilerplate by shtaros, you may come to do it by gitin. Therefore, you can't do anything. Nothing. Not shtar, not get, not halva, not meche, zero, zilch. Again, get, boilerplate, atu tayrif, lishma, boilerplate of shtaros, you might come to write boilerplate what? Of get.
Is that gzeira to gzeira?
I don't know. I don't see it that way. I was thinking about that. I'm not sure. If it's two gezeiras over here, if you do this, you may come to do that, and that is seven gezeiras. I hear. I'm not exactly sure. I was thinking about it also. Why is not a gezeira the gezeira?
Maybe it's two different steps. It's two different documents. It's not all in the same inyan.
I'm not sure. I thought of the kasha, but I didn't bother looking for a teretz. Okay.
Is that half a note for the refrigerator?
Half a slice. Okay. Look at the next Gemara continues. Look at Rashi. Five lines up. Dov, read the Rashi. Shtaris at the Gitin, b'toifis loy gazar, the gezera legezerahi. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda seems to be geyser gezera legezera. Rabbi Lazar, who doesn't, so you're on target. So okay, let's go through the steps, guys, and let's go through the hezbollah. The first shita, Rabbi Lazar, you're able to write every single thing. You could write Gitin, you could write shtaris. And when not geyser, if we let you write the toifis, you may come to write the toiris. Good? Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says you can't write anything. You can't write get because you may come to write the toirif. You can't write the boilerplate of you can't write the boilerplate of shtar because you may come to write the boilerplate of get. It's gezerah gezerah dove. What's the answer? Rabbi Yehuda seems to be gezerah gezerah. He doesn't seem to have a problem with it. Comes along Rebbe Lasa and he says, "Taka, it's a gezerah gezerah." So get, which is one gezerah, the toifis after the toirif, the boilerplate after the names, he's geyser. Shar shtaris, which is geyser to get, he's not geyser, and therefore that would be good. You would be able to write the boilerplate by shtaris. It's very. So Rabbi Yehuda would be geyser gezerah gezerah. I don't know why, but again, Dov is on target. Right? But now we have the hezbollah of all the different shitas. Now, the Mishnah concluded. What did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah said, Rabbi Elazar machshir b'kulon chutz mikitei nashim, with the exception of the nashim, shenemar v'chasav la lishma. Now, the Gemara is explaining, Rabbi Elazar says the reason it's us to write the typhus of the get, the boilerplate is mishum. It says v'chasav la. Fred Gemara about kiksiv la atoyrefu dechsiv. The boilerplate doesn't have to be written lishma. Only the toirif has to be written lishma. You know, if you look at the Mishnah, it says, but Rabbi Elazar says it's machshir b'kulon except gitei nashim. you can't write the toifus of Gitin Nashim. You know why you can't? Shenemar v'chasav lo lishma. But that's not the reason. Guys, the reason you can't write the toifus, you might come to write the toirif. The toifus doesn't have to be lishma. There is nothing in there. There's just the only thing that could be lishma is the names in the muteres l'choladam, hariyat muteres l'choladam. But the toifus doesn't have to be lishma. But the formidita of the Mishnah, the way it flows, it's mashma because the toifus has to be lishma. Fred Gemara Kasha, right? But kiksiv lo atoyrifu tiksiv, not on the toifus. So ela don't say shenemar alone. You say mishum shenemar. Right? It says because shenemar. Since it says by the toirif, it has to be lishma. Therefore, I can't write the toifus. Again, hear the word mishum, guys. The word mishum makes a big difference. If you just say shenemar, it's mashmitz going on the toifus. Now, I can't write the toifus mishum shenemar v'chosav on the toirif. And that's why I can't write it, because I write it. If you write the toifus, you may come to write the lishma part also. So mishum, underline the word mishum shenemar, because it says the chasav lo on the toirif. Therefore, I cannot write the toifus. The Gemara kosher the Rebbe Laza ad Rebbe Laza. Outside, guys. Outside, we did this already. Let's do it again. The first opinion, the Tanakama of the Mishnah, does not say his name. Why does it say? You could write the boilerplate of a get. You could write the boilerplate of every single star. Could this be Reb Meir? No, because if this is Reb Meir, you could even write the names in it, because Reb Meir only cares about the chasima. So we're saying that you can't write the boilerplate of the names. It must be the ksiva is the lishma part. Who's the one who holds the ksiva, the lishma part? Rebbe Laza, who holds Eidei Mesira Karta. You with me? So the first Tana is Rebbe Laza, says Eidei Mesira Karti, and what does he say? You can write Gitin Nashim. Comes along Rebbe Yehuda, you can't write anything. Comes along Rebbe Laza and says you could write everything except Gitin Nashim. Kasha the Rebbe Laza, the Rebbe Laza. Rebbe Laza of the ratio, you could write Gitin Nashim, the Toifis, because the Sefer you can't write. Shrei Tanoi, Valiv the Rebbe Laza. It's two Tanoim and Rebbe Laza reporting. Two Tanoim reporting what Rebbe Laza said. So you're having conflicting views of what he said. Rab Shapsi Omar Chizkiya Mishum Katata. He says, when you said before Mishum, going back to Mishum, the Takana, right? You said this was Takana Seifrim, fellas. Good. Why is the Takana Seifrim? Why could you write the Taifsim? To have it available, right? To have it available. Here's an opinion. Here's an opinion that no. Here's a different opinion. When it says Mifnei Takana, Rab Shapsi is saying the name of Chizkiya is Mishum Katata. The Reb Meir he, it's Reb Meir, Dama Eidei Kasima Karti. And Eidei Kasima Karti. So what happens over here, guys? This guy is going to be writing Gitin. Not only is he going to be writing Gitin, he's going to be writing Gitin with names in it. Why? Because we're going according to the opinion of Rabbi. Now, I assume in those days they didn't have a multiple amount of names, that Rav Chaim Kanievsky's Zatzal had to change, right? You didn't have all these weird names. So you could have a bunch of variables, a bunch of Saras, a bunch of Rachels, a bunch of Miriams, a bunch of Avrams, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Have pick and choose. You could have the game. Woman's walking along the street and here's a sefer writing a get, and the sefer says, and Yankel, he divorces Sprinza. She goes, 1 second. My husband's name is Yankel. My name is Sprinza. What's that going to cause? That's going to cause what? That's going to cause fighting. So this takana is why you shouldn't be able to write. The Eidei Chasim Makarti, Ubedinhu, right? You don't need the Shema. That filu toyif nami lechtiv. However, v'zimnin the shama leila sefer de kaksiv. She's going to hear the sefer writing. The savra ihu ka'amala, and she's going to think that ihu, her husband, Kamalei told the sefer to write it. Right? And that's pshat over here. According to this, is what is katata. So this is why you can't write the. This is why you can't write the typhus. So what does it say? Back in the Mishnah, now what does it say? It says Mifnei Takana. Why could you write the typhus and not the toirif? So according to the first pshat, that they should have it prepared. According to the second pshat, you could write the toifus without the toirif because you don't want a woman hearing a name being mentioned and thinking that it's a name and coming home and hitting her husband with a frying pan and really causing problems. In other words, that's why you can only write the toifus and not the toirif, guys, right? That's why you can only write the toifus and not the toirif. That's the second pshat, mishum katata. One more time. Ubedinu, 4 lines down. Ubedinu afilu toirif nami lichtoi. You should be able, according to Rabbi Meir, you should write proper names as well. However, Vizim in the Shamalei the Seifer the Kuksiv, she hears the Seifer writing, the Savra Ihu Karmalei, and she thinks her husband told him. Vahavilei Katata Badei. Rav Chisda Mavimi, a third pshat, Mishum Takonas Igunos. The Takonas Igunos, we want to have Gitin prepared, Mishum Takonas Igunos Amalei Remeya, Vimila Relaza. Some say this is according to Remeya, some say it's according to Relaza. Imila Remeya. Dama edi chasima karti, but bedinhu dafilu toirif nami lichtoi. This guy's going on a business trip. In those days, business trips were very scary. You went across the sea, wars broke out, there were robbers. What you didn't want is your wife to be in a state of maybe falling to yibum, maybe being an aguna and not knowing if you're dead or not. A bunch of different reasons. So what would you do? You divorce your wife. You'd have it ready. In other words, right before the trip. 1 second, I got everything packed. I got my food packed. I got my gotchkas packed. I got my, depends where you're going. I got this packed and that packed. Oh, 1 second, I'm going to take care of the Gitin. We see this concept, guys, in Navi. We saw this, the Gemara we saw it in Shabbos, but it's in Shmuel Aleph Perek Yud Zayin when David goes to fight Goliath. So Yishai tells David, go see his brothers and Evesarubasam Tikach. The things that are more bring them the Gitin. So anyone who would go out to war would write a get. How it worked, whether it worked Mafreya, according to Rashi with a tie, according to Rabbi Tam divorced outright, that's machloikis. But this concept was there. So the Mela makes a lot of sense. You want to have a get prepared. You want to have a get prepared because of igunos. So what the takana was, you're permitted to go ahead and write taifsim to have a get prepared, in order that a guy who's going overseas would not be in a situation where now we're going to go according to both Mandi Amrim. Now, according to Rabbi, you should be able to go ahead and even write the names. Says the Gemara. Because you don't need the Shema. What are you worried about? He's going to get upset. And he's going to get angry at her. And he's going to throw it to her. Again, and she'll be an aguna umoisivla, and she'll sit. Now, l'chayra, she's not going to be aguna. He's divorcing her outright, correct? So l'chayra, it's a little shverlich. So I saw 2 pshatim, one from the Rashba and one from the Chassam Sofer. The Rashba writes like this: he's going to get angry. He's going to throw it to her. We're familiar with the concept of when you throw a get to a woman, safek karav loy, sarav karav law. Is it close to his daled amis and it's not a get? Closer to her daled amis, it is a get, and you don't know. So she's going to be a safek mugareshes, and she'll be an aguna. That's the way the Rashba learns. The Chassam Sofer learns a bigger chiddush that if a person goes ahead and divorces his wife through anger, he's going to have to re-divorce her again. If he's divorcing her from anger, he's going to have to re-divorce her again. We're going to have to go ahead and shtelzach on this a little bit more. That's what the Chassam Sofer says. Either way, that would explain the lashon of igun. But the bottom line is, we don't want to have it prepared to the extent that he may come to use it. Imila Rebbe Laza, others say that the takana was Rebbe Laza. Dame Edi Masira Karti, Ubedinhu Dafilu Typhus Namiloi Lichtav. You shouldn't write the Typhus. The Zimnin, the Baal, the Mezlam Dinas Hayom. This is what I spoke out. The Baal has to go overseas. Vayashka Safra, he won't find a seifa with any, and he's going to be in a rush. The Shavik Law, he's going to leave her. V'azul Ma'agin U'moisiv Law. So to avoid that, you write it. Okay, so let's see the different shocking guys, right? The Mishnah that said you're allowed to write Typhus a Gitin for Mishum Takana. The first Pshat Takana was the Takana Seifrim. That make it easier that it should be available, that the Seifrim should have it, and they wrote it. The second Pshat was Pshat says Pshat is the reason why you wrote Taifsim and not the whole Torah. If it's a Chiddush, you should write the whole thing, because it's the sheet of Reb Meir. Why do we limit the Ksiva to the Taifus, to the boilerplate? Because if the get is available and it was being written, and a woman would hear the Sefer saying names, she mistakenly could think her husband said it, and that's going to cause strife. And therefore, if they takana, that's why even though like Rabbi, you should fill in the names. If they had takana for potential battles between Ish and Isha, don't write the names in. That's according to Rav Shabsai. Now we're saying a third pshat according to Rav Gitin, the name Ravimi Mishum takana sigunois, and this could be according to Reb Meir and Sai according to the Chachanim. According to Reb Meir, if you'd write names, maybe he'd get angry with his wife. It'd be available. He'd write a real get. He'd throw the get to her, and she'd remain an aguna. We saw two pshatim why she's not divorced outright, either because of the Rashba, Saf B'Kar of law, of course, or some Seifa. If you divorce in anger, you have to divorce again, or because of Rebbe Laza that we want to have it available that if he goes overseas, he should divorce his wife right then and there. If it's not available, he's going to leave, and Chas v'Shalom, something happens to him, she will remain aguna. So it's the pshat, the three different pshatim in takana. U'mokam hazman, you have to leave mokam hazman. Why do we write hazman beginning, guys? Machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. According to Rabbi Yochanan, Yishim basa chaysai. What's going to happen? He's going to marry his niece, and therefore she would have been a mizana. She would have been mizana, and therefore, what are you worried about? You're worried that he'll say she was divorced already, and therefore she's not mechuyev misa. According to Reish Lakish, you worry about Paris, that the Baal eats Paris as long as it's not divorced. If you don't have a date in the get, he may eat the Paris, he may sell it, and then when she comes to go ahead and pay off the Paris, they're going to say, what are you talking about? I was divorced later on. He sold it when it was still his. So that was the reason. Okay? So now, it said, you need makam hazman. Kapasik v'tani, the Mishnah went ahead and said a carte blanche then. No difference whether it's a get from the suin, or a get from erisin. Again, we know there are two stages to marriage. There's nesuin, there's erisin. Erisin is kedushin. Nesuin is what we call chuppah. Bishleima min nesuin. It makes sense why you need his man. Bein leman yalam mishum basachayse Rabbi Yochanan ikka bein ikka bein leman yalam mishum peri ikka. Doesn't make a difference. According to Reish Lakish. Ella mina erisin, light erisin, bishleim leman yalam mishum basachayse. Where an arus is an arusa, is a total erva, she's an eshes ish, and you have to worry about what? Him having rachmanas on her, ikka, you need a zman. Ella man yalam mishum peri arusa mislei peri. Late Reish Lakish, right? Who says the reason is Paris, Arusa doesn't need Paris, so why would you need a get? Late that Zman, why would you late that time? Why would you need the Zman beget? She's not getting Paris anyway. If the whole reason you need a Zman beget is to ascertain whether you had a right to sell the Paris or not, and therefore she has a right to go ahead and be toirif from the people she sold it to. If 1 second, if she doesn't get Paris, it doesn't apply. So that's the Gemara's kasha. The Gemara made a carte blanche then that a woman gets divorced, whether from Erisin and the Suin, you need a Zman. Read the Gemara, I don't understand. Later in the Suin, I understand. Like Erisin, I understand one side. Erisin, if it's al spasachos like Rabbi Yochanan, I understand he'd want to protect her because she's chayiv misa. Also, if she's an arusa, Mashain by Paris, there is no Paris. So what's the time of Reish Lakish like the man the Amma? Why would you need this man for a get from Erisin? Amrav Amam Hamilsa Shamas Ula. I heard a din from Ula. Dama Mishum Takonis Vlad. He said a din of Takonis Vlad. I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't know. And keeping the sham isu laha the Tanya. Since I heard the following, ha'omer kisvu get la arusasi, write a get for my arusa, and l'chashe'achnesena, and then when I marry her, igarshena, I will divorce her. Ain't a get. It's not a good get. V'ama'ula my tam. We're going to say maybe the get came before that child, and the child will be a pogrom. You'll say this woman got pregnant from after her get. So therefore, it's possible because we want to make sure that we have a zman to know exactly when the divorce took place. So here as well, like the man of Paris, I need to get a zman in the erisin that if she gets pregnant, you should know that exactly when she got pregnant. That you shouldn't say that why she got pregnant after the get. That after the get was given, and therefore what the child is questionable. Amrav Zera, Amrav Abba Bar Shila, Amrav Amnuna, Saba, Amrav Ada Barava, Amrav.
Can I have a question if you don't mind?
I gotta go on it. Sunday morning. Says the Gemara, Amrav, Halach Rebbe Lazar. The halach is like Rebbe Lazar. The Allah is like Rabbi Elazar who poisels Taifsei Gitin Gezerim Mishim Tairif. In other words, the Rabbi Elazar, the third sheet of the Mishnah. Okay, so Kori Rabbi Elazar Tuvina de Chachini. He called him the fortunate one of the Chachamim. Fred the Gemara Vafil b'Shtar Shtaris Nami. Would even Shtar Shtaris the halacha be that you can't write Taifsei Gitin, that or you could write Taifsei Gitin? According to this, you again. In other words, according to this, you're telling Rabbi Elazar it's only by Gitin Nashim you can't write, but you could write it by what? By Shtar Shtaris. Okay, so Afil b'Shtar Shtaris is the halacha like Rabbi Elazar that it's mutter to write this right, and not like Rabbi Yehuda. And then Rabbi Yehuda said you can't write anything. Rabbi Elazar said you could write everything except Gitin Nashim. So we're praising Rabbi Elazar. Rav Admar is praising in the name of Rav is praising the Tana of Rabbi Elazar ben Shamua. He's praising him and saying that Allah is like him. Now he said two dinim. He said you could write the Toifis by other shtaris. You just can't write it by Gitin. He praised him that you can write by Gitin. Mashma by other shtaris you could. And here's our problem. Ivomra papi mishmei de Rava. Hi ashrata de daini. This is called a henpick. The Dayanim hadn't come in front of them signatures, the authenticating signatures, and to be used for that these are these people testify to us that these are their signatures. We know these are the signatures, and therefore you could use it on and compare that these are them for another shtaris. So if it comes in front of them and they sign it before they see the signatures, then even though they know the signatures, psula alma michsek shikra. So therefore, it appears like sheker hachanami michsek shikra. If you're going to go ahead and write, you don't have to be lishma. If you're going to write a shtar that halvod didn't take place yet, it's michsek shikra, right? It appears that it's sheker. The Gemara the lesser, but that's not true. In other words, it's not a good kasha. Midrav Nachman. In other words, we're not worried about michsek shikra by shtar shtaris, right? Because of Rav Nachman's din. Why did Rav Nachman say? The Omer of Nachman, even if you found the get in the garbage dump and had your name, your wife's name, and the city on it, you'd give it, it's michsek shikra, it wasn't written for you. What do you have to say? You don't care about it. The Chachamim will argue, meaning Rebbe Elazar by Gitin is only by Gitin Nashim, right? Because to be in ksiva lishma, because you need ksiva and it wasn't lishma. Al b'shtar shtaris loy. B'shtar shtaris, if you found a shtar that had written names, dates, and amounts, and it's your name, where you don't know the shma, you'd be able to go ahead and use it. Why don't you wear a michsek shikra? Right? A shtar that you borrowed that day. Let's say you borrowed money that day, and lo and behold, you won the lottery. You're able to pay back in one day. So now this guy has got a shtar that's dated. He's got a shtar that's dated. It was used once, and on the same day, you can't use it again. You can't use it. Why? Because the shibud already has been, the shibud created by the shtar, when it was paid up, was nimchal. The reason why you can't use it is the nimchal shibudai, where the loiva was meichel shibud. Aval mishum shikra lechashinan. So we see the fact that it's michsek shikra, we're not worried about. So who adin, the halacha could be like Rebbe Elazar across the board. You can't, the halacha is you can't write Taifsei Gitin because you may come to write the Tairif. Shtar Sharis you could write. You're not worried about michsek shikra. Yes, Mayor, what's your question? My question is why do I have to look at your hand?
I was trying to unmute it. I'm sorry.